am still getting over being sick and I still have a kind of hoarse voice, so if I sound weird in this video, my deepest apologies to you. Here's hoping it won't be too distracting. The first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the name Cattle Decapitation, if you know nothing about them, is not that you're gonna get a philosophical band. Not a band with very important messages, not a band that started as a vegan band. You're gonna think some violent, over-the-top, grotesque metal band that is just dime a dozen and probably making music about like skinning some poor girl alive in the forest and eating her or something. Cattle Decapitation are not unfamiliar with general praise. They get critical acclaim anytime they so much as breathe in the general direction of new material. But even for people that are very much lost in the annals of the world of Cattle Decapitation, die-hard fans, or people that at least frequent them enough to know their material, usually the praise that they end up casting is something about Travis Ryan as a vocalist being one of the most talented vocalists, which, fair, the dude's goblin, who have the most basic, bare minimum, cookie cutter, cookie monster extreme metal vocalists out there, and then Travis Ryan bursts from the seventh circle of hell, comes up and swallows the entire earth with these tumultuous vocals that embody everything that you could think of when you think of range and technicality, versatility, dynamics. So praise is absolutely worthwhile there. Or their insanely complex playing, their technicality, the way that they write music, the way that Travis Ryan redefined clean singing in extreme metal in a way you had never quite seen. They're beautiful and just haunting album covers, how ominous and out there they are, while still being so downtrodden and dark and gross. So to set the base plate, there are very few other extreme metal bands at Cattle Decapitation's level of consistency from a songwriting department and just downright quality and how they perform. The Cattle Decapitation have been telling a story throughout their entire discography, and that is the thing that I think is the most unsung about them. Y'all already know I am a whore for storytelling. I love writing, I love literature and poetry, and I am so smitten whenever a band is able to simultaneously be kick-ass from a musical department, but also have something very important to say, whether it's something that a large group of people can resonate with, or putting ideas out there that you don't usually hear. And Cattle Decapitation, when you boil it down to the barest essentials, they definitely coat a lot of their music in general nihilism, existentialism, and just a wholehearted cynicism towards humanity and the people that inhabit the earth, namely humans. And at face value, this isn't something that is that uncommon. If you said that to most people that listen to metal that maybe aren't that familiar with Cattle Decap, they're gonna say, yeah, there are hundreds of cynical and nihilistic misanthropic bands that just hate humanity and hate people and are very anti-society. And while I understand that because I frequent a lot of those subgenres that have a lot of those bands, it's the way that Cattle Decapitation approaches this nihilism and cynicism that has been a rolling tapestry throughout their entire timeline as a band. Whereas a lot of the misanthropic black metal and death metal music out there that you will see will just be an anti-society and I hate people, I don't fit in, I think that everyone should burn because we're just awful and evil. Cattle Decapitation takes a much different approach by specifically highlighting a lot of the things that we do to the world, to the earth, to animals, to the environment, to each other, through all kinds of different lenses such as war, how we politic, how we treat each other, the way that we approach the rights of others, the way that we see other people and countries in an echelon, in a hierarchy, putting people in little tiers, how we destroy the environment, how we treat animals in unethical ways, and so many other things that are put in a much more poetic way than I could ever word in this video in a timely manner. And if you aren't that good at listening to metal vocals, it can kind of seem like it's just gonna be some gross shit, but when you really look at the lyrics, every single song are just so violently in your face. Which leads me into my next point, which is Cattle Decapitation don't just highlight these things, they put it sort of in this side-by-side mirror image sort of thing to compare, where they put humans and mankind as a whole in the same positions that we treat the environment or that we treat animals, herding people to the slaughterhouse, destroying the environment, infecting people, forcing people to do and see and feel the same things that we make other things, creatures on the earth, or each other endure. And the beauty of Cattle Decapitation's discography, in a way that I don't think most people really pay that much mind to, is their storytelling throughout the years has led to a cataclysmic downfall. A lot of their early to mid releases dealt with humans treating animals poorly or treating the environment poorly. That was their modus operandi. You had records like Karma Bloody Karma, To Serve Man, Humanure, as well as The Harvest Floor, which all highlighted shifting the position of humans and putting them in the positions that we put other things in. But throughout their discography, it became much more of a grand tale and sort of a big picture. Monolith of Inhumanity was gargantuan. It was monolithic in its nature, in its composition, and in the themes that it brought to the table. But it wasn't until the Anthropocene extinction back in 2015 that the way that we treated the environment started to outright kill the world. And they just kept exploring this more and more on their later records, where Death Atlas literally brought about the end of the fucking world, and Terracite was pretty much an aftermath of that. You don't usually see Cattle Decapitation as much of a concept album band, but they really are a concept band if you look at the thorough line of their discography. Their themes have shifted a lot throughout time, and so it can make it feel disjointed or like there isn't any rhyme or reason. Obviously they still have important things to say, but it can become difficult to understand what they're going for. But when you look at these albums and you compare each album as they continue into each other, it really is this flawless transfer of beauty through poeticism and violence, put in a way that you rarely see any band be able to do. And that's not to say that there aren't some very incredible bands that put important messages out there in a poetic way, but it's through the violent poeticism that Cattle Decapitation embody their misanthropic themes and make it to where you can really put yourself in the mind of this cataclysmic onslaught that we brought about. Every time you feel like Cattle Decapitation has raised the stakes higher than they could ever hope to achieve higher than, they just exceed the bar even more, with their theme becoming heavier in magnitude and scope. The Anthropocene extinction led into Death Atlas, and it really felt like you were seeing the end of the world that we brought on through environmental issues, through war, pretty much nuking ourselves off the planet. The early Cattle Decapitation records felt like a starting point that would later lead into these other albums, and you could say that the scope and theme of those albums were relatively simple in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not just talking from a songwriting and production department, because it was a lot more primordial, primitive, and raw in the way that the compositions were put together, and Travis Ryan had not dabbled in a lot of the vocal acrobatics, being a vocal chameleon that he later would be. I am mostly talking about the theme and how it seemed like the intensity aptly matched the intensity growing in their production and their songwriting and Travis Ryan as a vocalist, and they matched the energy perfectly to where the theme was not eclipsed by the fantastic songwriting, and the songwriting was certainly not eclipsed by the fantastic and massive themes that they were putting out there. The creative balance that they have been able to beautifully toe the line of just never ceases to amaze me, and it's easy to get caught up in just how tight and how flawless Cattle Decapitation are. A lot of people feel like they sound a little too engineered, a little too manufactured, which I personally don't agree with. But even if you get caught up in that, it is easy to forget just how amazing of storytellers this band has been over the decades. And I've kind of gotten to the point to where I no longer doubt when they are able to like exceed the bar, because every time I think that they just cannot get any better, they somehow find a way to get better. So I'm at a loss for words at this point. But me personally, I think that the unsung beauty of Cattle Decapitation and so much of their proficiency and talent lies in the way that the world building that they have encompassed has felt so gorgeously put together, intimate and intricate, without sacrificing brutality or intensity in the way that you would expect from an extreme metal band that is as extreme and is as brutal and is as at points experimental as Cattle Decapitation are. They fit their name, they fit the irony of their name. And so the hate and rage that goes alongside that irony, it just fits like a glove. What are your guys' opinions of Cattle Decapitation from like a storytelling department, or just Cattle Decapitation as a band just in general? You can let me know down in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear your opinion on this. Agree or disagree, there is no wrong answer. Thanks for putting up with my sick ass. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.